Well, good morning, folks. I'm Joe Wesley, and
Good morning, Lizzy. Gabor here.
thank you for signing in a little bit early. For those who are seeing us for the first time, thanks for joining us. For those who are coming back again and again, we do appreciate that. For those who are new to us, what are we all about? First off, we start at a little bit early sometimes. We try to. So it's an 8 o'clock start Eastern time, but we start somewhat early to give you a sense of our background, that we're not rehearsed. We try to be spontaneous, and that's easy to do because we don't rehearse. Duh. What the purpose of this is about, folks, is that Lizzy is a recognized wellness coach and a yoga certified instructor, and I still struggle with the wording because it's still not intuitive to me. And she does what grabbed my attention to her was her statement that in part that wellness is very good for well-being, the same word described. It makes you, allows you to be more successful, to be happier while you're doing it, all the things that make sense to me. However, I'm a left brain kind of guy, so give me the facts, give me the details. This yin and yang stuff doesn't make any sense. So Lizzy agreed to allow me to pound on her to try to figure out what the hoot is she talking about, and she's going to explain it to me. Dangerous because she tries to suck me into her side of the fence, and I just refuse to go there without kicking and screaming. But we're having fun with it, and we hope it's of value to you. You can look at us through LinkedIn, through YouTube, through Facebook. If you do it through YouTube, remember to sign in. That way you'll be able to leave commentary as you can also through the other two avenues. Share your thoughts, share your questions, and better yet, share us with other people you think might have value. 15 minutes every Thursday morning, barring Thanksgiving and maybe vacation at some point, a holiday. So what I do as a matter of protocol, I share with Lizzy what the topic is going to be for the moment. And it never makes any sense to me. So, that being said, her current topic, and I'm going to enjoy pouncing on this one. She says, think it to feel it. Now, I'm literate, so I can read the words. I understand what they mean, even combined together. But I'm going to give you a Joe Wesley example. And I had to write this down. But basically, I love to play football. Football season, I just saw on the tube this morning, it's going to start in another 2 weeks. The game's Sunday, Monday, Thursday, you name it, it's going to happen.
I
I'm a
gotta get
Chicago.
my earplugs ready, Joe.
See, she's already blowing me off here. So that being said, I'm a Chicago Bears fan. They love to hog the bottom of their division. So I'm going to think the first game I watch or not that they're going to start off with a winning season. And in fact, to think it, I'm not just going to think it, I'm going to work to feel it. I've got the beer that I'm going to buy already in the refrigerator. I've got the pizza I'm going to order to be delivered just before the game starts. I even got one or two frozen ones extra for the hyped celebration. I got the chips on the table, the popcorn and the butter ready to go. But normally what happens, I do this every season, by the way. This is not something new. But by the fourth quarter, we were 3 touchdowns behind. I just ain't feeling it. So this thing about think it to feel it, I think about a lot of things, but I hardly ever feel it. So I'm really challenging Lizzy on this one, how this thing works.
Well, first of all, I'd say that you're practicing the art of visualization right there, my friend. You
I'm
are
on
really,
it.
you are embodying, how you want to feel with all of those details, and so that's that you're a very good student, I have to say.
Yeah, but
Um,
the challenge is I just ain't the fourth quarter. I just ain't feeling it. So
yeah.
that's where I am with this.
Hmm. Hmm. Well, what happens? What happens in the fourth quarter? They start to lose, and then you start to get doubtful. Is that what happened?
No, they were never winning, but I'm going to make it happen with
Or they,
mind over body syndrome here. Every season they fight for the bottom of the division, so I know the program and the pattern. But before I even met Lizzy, I've been a Lizzy advocate in terms of the Chicago Bears. If I think they're going to win, I'm hyped up. I got the flag, I got the beer, I got the pizza. It's going to happen. How could it not? And we
well,
still.
I mean, you are helping them in your own little way that we all can do, in as far as sending them the good energy that you're embodying. But I mean, this is the thing, you know, thoughts create, like I said, if you think it, you're going to feel it. So if you're thinking a positive thought about the game or about anything, your body reacts, so the thoughts happen in your mind, and then in your body is where you feel them. And every thought produces either a positive or a negative or an indifferent feeling in your body. And so, when you're thinking positively, you're like, your body is calm and grounded and centered, and you can think good thoughts. But when you're going negative thoughts, your body's going to be, you might start to sweat, your heart rate goes up, your blood pressure goes up, so every thought affects every cell in your body is what I want people to understand. And what happens is it's like a loop. We have a thought, then we have a feeling, and then we have a belief. And so if we start to think about ourselves, I'm more focused on how we can improve ourselves, and with my clients, how they can improve themselves.
You mean this may not work for the Chicago Bears? Is that what I'm hearing?
That's a little, I mean, it's difficult. It's a little bit difficult. I mean, maybe if everybody in the world was focused on that energy would
Folks, she's already
them.
losing my interest, but let's see where this goes.
But on the flip side, if they start to lose, what I see in my household sometimes is the energy in the house just goes dark.
Yeah,
and,
I
and
get
that's
that.
not good for the people in my house. That's not good for you to have that kind of outside influence really affect how you're internally feeling, and really what's happening in your body. So it's just to have an awareness again about what you're doing to yourself. And and what happens though is that negative feeling, say if they lose, that can linger for your whole day.
Excuse me, Lizzy, when
Yes.
they lose, not if they lose, when they lose, despite my best effort. I just want to clarify that, but
All
go
right,
ahead.
well, don't affirm that if you don't want that to happen. um, but with us, individuals, we get stuck, and we cling on to those feelings. We engage with those thoughts. We attach to them and feed them attention. And that's where that belief starts to set in of like, I'm not, I'm stupid. I'm not enough. Nothing, these bears never win. And that's where it starts to become really toxic, and can affect affect and limit you in your life. And that's what I find we need to take a look at that, and kind of take it apart and see, and again, question it. Is that really true? Maybe that came from, most of the time that comes from childhood, from something that was between like the ages of 2 and 7 was programmed into us. And as an adult, if we're aware and we want to take a look at ourselves, we got to look and see, that we don't need to hold on to that anymore.
Well, I guess what I'm hearing, and maybe one of the favorite phrases of Lizzy is the word mindfulness. And it occurred to me, it had a paradigm shift. Now, I'm not biting to the program here, folks, just to remind you. But my focus was on the Bears, the Chicago Bears, not focus on me. Maybe my reaction to the Bears, but I had not. You can't control. You can't control what happens around you, but you can control your response. You can control your internal sense of self, if I'm saying that correctly. So if I'm hearing you correctly, Lizzy, it sounds like whether the Bears lose or not, how I spend the rest of my day, can spend the rest of my day sulking on it, perhaps, or maybe gaining something more from it. At least the pizza was good, if nothing else, maybe.
Exactly. And the beer, right? And the and you sitting on your chair or whatever. And yeah, absolutely. We can't control the events. We can't control the things outside ourselves. We can control what's our inner life, and how we respond or react, or on the opposite, react. And that's completely in our control. That's the mindfulness. That's where we can, anything that can be thrown at us, we can choose to,
I hear that.
give it attention, and have, just redirect ourselves. So for you, it's like, okay, maybe I'll go outside and take a nice walk after the Bears game.
As I say, here's folks. This is where the problem becomes. First off, a commercial break. Somebody gave us a thumbs up already. Thank you for the thumbs up. We do appreciate that.
Yeah.
Secondly, the real challenge I have in my discussion with Lizzy is that she just said, well, go outside and breathe the sunflowers and feel good about yourself. No, it doesn't happen automatically like that. Like the Bears lost, and that's the reality of the moment for me. So my challenge always to myself by asking Lizzy, there must be some baby steps that I might look at to do versus just turn the switch on and everything is okay. So I do my.
How fast can you recover? From when you're feeling some kind of negative emotion or some kind of negative feeling. You have a thought, then you have a negative feeling, and then how long do you hang out there? Like you see like kids who have tantrums, and they long after they didn't get the cookie, they're still on the floor,
Mm-hmm.
like, and you see adults doing that, so it's about, like, again, how fast can I snap myself out of it? So it's not turning on a light switch, but it's redirecting your attention, into a more positive feeling, because again, it's going to be good for your health. It's going to be good for your relationships.
I understand the philosophy 101 syndrome here, but I just not intuitive. I guess when you ask how fast can I come out of it, it depends. If it's the Bears, it's going to last until the next game because I'm going to go through the cycle all over again. However, when I was a kid, I was the firstborn and the only boys, the son. So I had it good in mommy's eyes, certainly in a single parent household. And I wanted something from her that she wasn't going to give me. And I might have been 6 or 7-ish. And realizing I was firstborn and the only son, I had leverage. So I told my mother, I didn't ask her, I told her, if you don't give me what I want, as in the kitchen, I'm going to hold my breath until I die. Because I knew she would never allow her firstborn son to perish in front of her eyes. And she said, go ahead. Yes. So I know she's negotiating. She's bluffing. I think it. I'm going to feel it. So I took an elaborate deep breath, huffed up, closed my mouth, and stood there rigid, watching her to break down. Immediately, she never changed what she did. She was washing the dishes, wiping this, dusting, whatever it was. At some point, I was shocked. Well, at some point, my breath ran out, and so that was over at that moment. I never had one of those again. So it depends on what I'm trying to accomplish. Neither worked for me, though.
Yeah, yeah. Well, that's because she knew that eventually you're gonna. Take
I didn't know that. I thought she'd break.
You didn't know that, right?
I thought she was convinced she'd break before I got to that point in my life.
You thought she would, right? But and then what happened? You walked away sulking.
I walked pissed. I was even worse off than I was before. But I never had another tantrum though, because I knew they didn't work. That's all.
See, that's the lesson. That's the lesson. It doesn't work for us to stay in that state. It doesn't help. It doesn't change the person's reaction. And that's when we don't react to what somebody else does in front of us. Say like a tantrum. It's gonna diffuse. It's gonna diffuse much faster than if you try to sling one back to that person. As in an argument, say, it's just feeds fuel to the fire. If you want it to dissipate, you just don't react. And it's a really a great tool, even within relationships. Like if and you can also use it in a positive way. Whereas you walk in and you see somebody sulking or upset, and you don't kind of. Like, when a kid falls and the parents like, and rather than the parents like, oh, that must hurt. Like, let's just clean it up and calm, the kid is going to be much more calm. And it's the same for adults because we're just big kids.
Right.
Right.
I agree with that totally. Absolutely. So I'm trying to figure this out. I understand the concept. If you think it, you feel it, even though it doesn't help my bears one way or the other. But that being said, I'm still always puzzled by, for people who are used to a certain reaction,
Hmm.
how to begin to change.
Hmm.
I understand intellectually the issue of mindfulness,
Hmm.
self awareness, but for those of us who aren't in the habit of flowing along that canal, that again, are there little baby steps or initial steps that one might consider taking that's within reach to begin that
Yeah,
different
but I
path?
mean, for example, so someone who has like road rage or gets, or and they don't want to do that anymore because
Mm-hmm.
again, what does it do? It just increases their blood pressure, and they might get themselves in a bad situation if they actually, speed up next to that person or
Mm-hmm.
whatever. And so it's just start noticing when you react.
Mm-hmm.
Notice when you are quick to have those spikes in your blood pressure, and that's where you can start to say, huh, let me see if I can choose a different response, one that might be a more elevated, higher self version.
Mm-hmm.
And what happens is you start to catch yourself sooner. You might start to speed up, and then you might just start to think, okay, oh, look what I'm doing again.
Mm-hmm.
um I mean, I got to the point where when somebody, if they flip me off or something, I just, I think of a pink elephant in my head, and I just start to laugh.
Mm-hmm.
So that you do these little tricks, and you just start to catch yourself, and then it becomes that you just don't do that anymore.
Yeah.
The more that you catch yourself sooner and sooner, and it becomes, that's your new habit. Your new habit becomes that you don't react when somebody cuts you off in traffic, or for example.
I appreciate that. And again, we've hit our curfew. Boy, how time flies when we're having fun. Thanks for
Mhm.
closing us out on this, Lizzy. Folks, thanks for viewing us. Even if you look at us after the fact, by all means, still share your comments because we do work hard to audit and get back to you. Share your ideas, share your questions, share us with other people. I'm Joe Wesley, and this is
Lizzy Gabor, thanks, guys.
saying
Be
goodbye,
well,
folks.
everybody.